welcome back to Head Shepherd. We're recording this one in person. Often we do this by web, and so I'm sitting in some virtual camera somewhere and not chatting properly. But today I have the great pleasure of being with Ben Simpson. Welcome to Head Shepherd, Ben.
Thank you, and congratulations on your 200th podcast, which was the other day, was it?
Yeah. So I'm not sure when this one will go out, but yeah, it'll be a few weeks ago when this one hits the airwaves. So yeah, awesome result. Big lot of work, but anyway, it's good this far.
Oh, it's fantastic to be here, mate. Beautiful day.
Cracking day. We've got a few crows in the background, which are adding to the joy.
And one miniature sausage dog on heat, and one of my son's young working pups underneath my feet. So there's going to be plenty of plenty of interruptions.
Should be we'll have plenty. But anyway, we'll get there. Ben, we normally start with a bit of background, and we'll start with, I guess you've got a passion for capturing people's story and using your visuals and sounds to tell their story in a really authentic way. Has that always been the case, or something that has sort of evolved over time?
Yeah, so I moved down here in 1996, and I was exporting live animals and semen and embryos around the world. So that was how I sort of moved into this beautiful district. And we're running a pretty large embryo transplant program. I think we had 700 recips here just for the C grade eggs, and we were exporting the A and the B grades. But I was doing the breeding of that operation and setting up export markets around the world, but I was also doing the marketing. So I was doing my own communication and my own visuals to sort of accompany what we did. So it evolved. My ex-wife and I sort of started OGA as a continuation of that, and very quickly it turned into a creative agency, and now we're lucky enough to go from Western Australia all the way to New Zealand, working with some pretty amazing people.
Yeah, that's cool. See, that's the beauty about this podcast. I learn things about people questions I wouldn't normally ask. So maybe if we just go back even further, and that's sort of, I guess, when you first picked up a camera and sort of why agriculture was in your blood, where all that sort of, I guess, the backstory before the before, I guess. Yeah,
before the before. I was lucky enough to. I was brought up in a situation where we had a farm, a beautiful farm in Mudgee, but not a large farm. But I loved agriculture, and so that was always my vocation, I suppose. I come from a pretty academic family. My father's a philosopher, my mum's a psychologist, my sister is head of a big superannuation fund and stuff like that, and I was expelled from university. So it didn't quite sort of fit my temperament, but the love of agriculture and the, I suppose, inherent desire to communicate has been in my blood. So that has, living in a house with a philosopher as a father and a psychologist as a mother and stuff like that, communication's always been really strong and really important. And then I suppose finding what I did, my love of agriculture, my love of genetics, it just evolved to that. I felt I can contribute that way by helping other people communicate.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Really interesting. It would have been a very interesting household to grow up in.
It was. I don't think they were that happy when I was expelled from uni.
Possibly not. Yeah. I guess if we move to the present day, and so obviously you are marketing for some really big names in stud stock and big corporations beyond stud stock. I guess if we go into sort of first principles, what's central to helping someone that you work with to tell their story? I mean, that's your superpower, is getting that story out of people. What's central to them, helping them do that?
Yeah, strategy, Mark. Strategic mapping is the central thing that we do for our company. So, as I said, OGA started with me and then with Jules, and now it's got 12. We've got 12 really, really good people in the company. And strategy, I mean, yes, I am a photographer and a filmmaker as well, and I still love doing that, but strategy is, I'm the lead strategist for the company, and our strategic mapping that we do we work with transport companies, agricultural companies, manufacturing companies. Developing a strategy is the most important thing, because it dictates where you want to go, but how you want people to feel about you in the future. So we then, once we develop a really healthy strategy with companies, we then work to build the content, create the content that's going to help them get where they want to be, really, and most importantly, help how they want to be perceived in the future.
Yeah, that saying that people forget what you tell them, but they remember how you make them feel, and that's obviously critical.
Well, it's true. I mean, you know what I mean. Ultimately, everyone's purchasing decision is made emotionally. Ultimately, yeah. So it might be, 20 decisions that are mathematical to get to your final two. But when it's at the final two, ultimately you go with the one that you feel more emotionally safe with, and that's what we try and do with companies. And it's essentially that forms it. The other thing is, we do work with a lot of the same people, Mark. We're not prescriptive. Our company isn't prescriptive, so we actually take the time to listen to our clients.
Crazy idea.
Yeah, it's a crazy idea, isn't it? You listen to them, and as you do genetically, you listen to your clients and understand what their challenges are and what their environments are. You don't have one prescriptive method that works in Warrnambool as opposed to Berg or Christchurch. You know what I mean? You're developing methods and techniques that help people in their environment, and we're the same. So we listen to our clients, and then we help them communicate what they feel they want to communicate. And I think that's essentially makes us different, because every day we're communicating on behalf of our clients, and that makes such a massive difference in ag, especially in ag. Yeah,
I guess, maybe in everything, but in ag, if you're not authentic, you get found out really, really quickly. Like if you're not being true to yourself, then you're out.
You're right. As you know, we work with an amazing array of clients, but I feel it's better to get a genuine response from someone than one that has been written in a boardroom on an Excel spreadsheet. I feel like if someone naturally gives 3/4 of the answer that you're trying to get from them, that's a lot better than making them become false and straight up at the camera and things like that. Yeah. And I know, ultimately everything we do is on behalf of our clients' clients.
Yeah.
Right? And so for the general public or a seed stock population to believe a message, it's got to be genuine.
Yeah. And you've got to believe in the product you're selling. That's the key. You can't... People, I think, get a bit carried away with when they see sales programs in agriculture, thinking that it's all push, but it's genuinely knowing that people will do well when they have these genetics, or that transport company or whatever you're working with, that they've got good product to sell. So it makes the sale or the marketing much easier.
100%. The two major components of our strategy is how do you want to be perceived, and we will develop all the communications to enable you to be perceived in the way that you want to be perceived. But just like you, Mark, it's got to be backed by fact. So if you want to be the biggest, we can build all the marketing material to make you look like that. But guess what? We have to actually have the facts to make you the biggest, the fastest, the most efficient. So we sort of balance everything we do with mathematical fact. And it's a really nice blending of slow motion, emotional, music and all that sort of stuff with cold hard facts.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about combining, even working with you, with some of our clients. We can build all that emotion into a brand, and guess what? We've got mathematical facts to show that it works.
Yeah, exactly. If we shift gears a little bit and give you a bit of a free mic to chat about Australians and Australian ag and generally, and I guess one of my pet hates, in ag is, and I think it's there in Australia and New Zealand, is the tall poppy sort of syndrome. And that's kind of this destiny to be average, because if you stand out from the crowd, you get beaten back, and if you're sort of a bit crap, you get beaten up as well. So it's kind of everyone's happy in the middle. I guess people are just generally uncomfortable putting themselves above the crowd. How do we change that, and why does that need to change?
I'm going to answer it in a long way, I suppose. We've been beaten down to some degree by industrial ag, and it's so many commercial producers have been just price takers, and it's been a matter of shut up, do your job, we'll pay you what we want, and you become a price taker, and don't complain, don't tall poppy, and things like that. And I understand that the large industrial model has to work when we've got to feed a huge amount of the population, but I call that, like, that's the Comet, and there are big organisations in Australia that, you know, we know who they are, and they're the Comets, and there's nothing wrong with those, but the beauty about having a Comet is you've got a Comet tail, and there's so much opportunity created post the big, you know, perhaps monopolising sort of supermarket chains and stuff like that. They're doing a great job feeding people, but post that, and you can choose to be in that model, but there's so many interesting things happening in the Comet tail behind, and being able to, you know, breed a product that's genetically different, or prove it, listening to the marketplace. Ultimately, I think if you are in a situation where you've been able to achieve that, then you're not tall poppying anymore. You're actually just saying, hey, I've achieved this, and other people can partake, you know, in my success because of it. And it doesn't have to be prescriptive.
100%. I guess if we get your read on Australian agriculture at present, I won't prelude that with my thoughts. I'll just let you jam on that. But yeah, I guess opportunities that are coming our way, headwinds that are coming our way. What do you see in terms of livestock and ag, or just ag generally, if you like? How do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, I think we're in a great spot. You know, I always like taking a positive view. I mean, of course, we've always got challenges. We've always had challenges, as you know. But I think there's a real, and it's thanks to people like yourself. I think this open source communication, the sharing of ideas, the sharing of science and technology and advancements and things like that has enabled. I want to say the word selective, but it's not the right. It's enabled progressive commercial and seed stock producers to adapt and share and grow stronger as a result. And I think Australian ag is really well underwritten by having being able to how do I say it, the whole supply chain. You know, the security inside the supply chain, and being able to, you know, these days we do operate in a global market. So we've got now not only seed stock producers telling their stories, but we've got commercial producers as well, because some of our really large scale commercial guys understand that their brand, yes, they're wholesalers, but their brand, if they want their brand to be taken up or bought, their products, whether it be grain, wool, or meat or anything, want to be taken up by a larger sort of globalised company, then their brand also has to have the similar values and brand propositions put into it in regards to looking after the environment, being traceable, being really authentic in what they do. And so that's coming down to a commercial level. And the producers that are doing that are starting to be a preferred customer. There's no such word as premium, but, you know, a preferred customer, because overseas companies can say, hey, we're using, you know, wool from this producer here, and they also care about the environment, care about animal welfare, care about their staff. So we're starting to tell those stories as well, that's going through to a global pool.
And while that can sound too far away, I suppose, if you're out the back of Ferg farming a few sheep or whatever, like, you think that's miles away, but even down to having that good story and that good communication strategy, like, they're the people that get priority staff. They're the people that people seek out to get a job with, and so making sure you've got a story to tell and you're telling it well has local benefits as well as those sort of global benefits.
It is. I think we've only just started. As you know, we're lucky enough to work with Meat and Livestock Australia, and I think they do an incredible job, and it's an enormously hard job, because they have so much of that industry that they have to represent. But I've been lucky enough to be involved with the Australian Good Meat, which is a proactive arm of Meat and Livestock Australia that we're pushing positive stories into the meat eating and non-meat eating areas of urban Australia, and being proactive about agriculture, I think needs to be, for the next 5 to 10 years, I think that is our most crucial thing that we can do for agriculture. I think Australia is a beautiful country. We produce an incredible product, whether it be wool or meat and or grains. We've got this amazing island that's locked up from the rest of the world, and we're one of the largest exporters of food in the world. So we've got a great story where we've only just started to understand the power of being proactive, of communicating what we do and making other people feel good about our products.
Yeah, I guess that sort of leads on to my next question, which is your thoughts on how well we currently communicate with those end consumers, and your thoughts on whether we're doing enough.
Well, I mean, I think we've started, and I think that's really, really important. I think there's with some parts of the industry, dare I say it, wool and the non-mulesing thing, I think there's been various representative bodies that have had their head in the sand in regards to non-mulesing. I remember a beautiful Italian wool company pulled me into their boardroom maybe 5 or 6 years ago and said, "Ben, help us. We can't buy Australian wool." And that's on a commercial level 6 years ago, but yet we're still not really doing anything about it. And the whole non-mulesing thing, the world doesn't want mulesed wool. And we know from other people that we work with in the industry, like Howard Perry Husband and Pollinate, we've actually got facts and numbers behind that. I don't want to quote them because I'm not an expert in it, but we're at a critical point with the mulesing debate that if we don't proactively fix it and also genetically fix it, I think there's a real potential. It not only could, it's already affecting wool, we know that, but imagine if it got into lamb. Imagine if Australia eats lamb. We're so proud of our lamb. Sam Chickabuch, all of that. Like we eat lamb, but imagine if the mulesing thing gets into lamb.
Which has already been discussed. So, I think there's lots of examples like that where we just have to front foot reality and put our maybe personal preferences and biases aside and know how. I mean, I guess the way I always think about it is if you think it's not going to be there in 20 years, then you may as well. I love the quote from Bill Malcolm, which is, "Act now as if the future you believe is already in place," or something along those lines. Like, if we know the future, because we can kind of predict what consumer sentiment's going to be or is already, we kind of just got to get on with it. And that's not just a mulesing debate. That's an everything around our credentials as landholders, as animal welfareists. Like, every farmer loves their animals more than anyone, but we just need to make sure we're doing it in a way that we can really tell a clear story.
100%, and it's using. I think some of the organisations that are perhaps against farming use a modern language, which is very inflammatory and damaging, like words like deforestation, where I plant trees here every year on my farm, and I know farmers that plant trees all the time, but yet we get slammed with the deforestation thing. Now, clearing land with regrowth, that it has a bit of regrowth so you can plant more crop and grow more food and sequester more carbon, that's a good thing, but we get tainted with the deforestation. So I think the challenge is for us to communicate with the same language, like fight the battle with the same language. If they're in a fight, metaphorically, if they're fighting barefisted, then we should fight barefisted too. But all in all, I think again we can overcome so many of the potential negatives in agriculture by constantly promoting positive stories. I think every Australian, I think every New Zealander should bloody love farmers.
Yeah, and I think I live in a city, and I think 300,000 people, not a big city, but I think I've never met an individual that doesn't love farmers. So I wonder how much of our concern as us is listening to the story of a minority too much and using that as an example to they all hate us so we can't do anything or whatever. Like the opportunities just to tell our story a little bit better, I think, means that we won't get into the fight level. We'll just get into the informed level. And I know that you can't. If you have a strategy that means you're trying to inform the masses, that's a really tough way to go about it. But you can tell your story in an authentic way, and I think we can place ourselves better than we currently do anyway.
Well, I think, look, some of the wonderful sort of, even for me to talk about Australian Good Meat, and as I said, it's been a wonderful collaboration. Going out and telling positive stories has been great, but now we're down at a deeper level where we're actually approaching random people in the street saying, would you like to ask a farmer a question? And we're then getting the farmers to answer it. So we're actually crossing this divide where people in urban areas actually feel like they're a part of the conversation, and they do get the chance to ask a farmer a genuine question. And a genuine farmer, and I've got to say, we haven't had a farmer that hasn't been so happy to answer that. And crossing that divide between, because ultimately, like I said, like you and I are involved with whether it be strategy or genetics, and I love the fact that we love both, is we get so involved at that level of what we do. But on a really basic level, I think farmers want to be able to show and communicate that they love their land, they love their animals, they love their pastures, they love looking after their land. And I think people in urban populations, the more connected they can feel to that, and just know, I mean, it's not their primary concern, but know that they can go to a supermarket or a farmer's market and buy some meat or buy some produce, and knowing that it has been ethically raised or sustainably made. And you know that word's overused, as you know, but that feel good sentiment, I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think that, I guess bring back the trust, whether how far it's been eroded, I don't think it's that far, but that just trust that they are doing a good job, whatever it is, kind of thing, is what we and it's hard. I mean, the world doesn't stop eating, right? So we get, I mean, you know, there could be a bloody catastrophe, and you know, 99% of the population is still going to go to a supermarket and do the same thing they did the day before that, you know, whatever tragedy. But I think at that top end, if we can all understand the process of agriculture and like the ecosystems that we need to survive in it, I think the more everyone can understand that it's part of an ecosystem, I think we're going to be all better off. And you know, the cliche, you know, I didn't know that, you know, where do you get your milk? Well, you get it from a supermarket. And I know that's a cliche, but the more we can break down that cliche, the better. Yeah, no, for sure. And we could jam on this for a long time, so I'll move on. But enough said that. I think there's a big opportunity there, and it's great that work that you and MLA are doing, and other examples I'm sure that are involved with it, to try and make sure that story's told in a way that is trustworthy. Just a bit of an interesting question for me, really, not most necessary for the listeners, but I've been doing a bit of artificial intelligence lately. You run the company with 12 creatives, and I think when I originally thought AI was creativity was going to be a thing that AI wasn't going to be good at, but it turns out it's not bad at it. What do you think the future holds for creative companies? Is AI going to, I guess, the ability for AI to erode trust because it can mimic stuff? It's an interesting space. I was wondering.
Yeah, I mean, the dangers are obviously there. Our company certainly embraces AI a lot. I suppose the main reason we use AI, not in a video sense, but in a communication sense, is that AI can sort through 4 pages of crap and break down, and all AI results need to be re-edited. But it can save you a day of work to strip back or clean. As you know, with data's no good unless it's cleaned. And the cleaner your data. So I think AI has some amazing benefits for all of us. But even now, I know I've come across 2 highly priced pieces of communication lately that that has been written by AI. And I've been lucky enough to say to these companies that have paid a lot of money for it, it's like someone's actually just AI'd this and cut and paste it. So I think it's so exciting, AI, with what it can do from a breeding point of view, from an analysing of genetics to even analysing the weather, to to analysing data, I'm all for it. But to go to you to from a visual, we all know. I mean, look, even maybe to answer your original question, like what's the importance of photography? The importance of visual in our company, and we are a visual marketing company, is that it takes 1/80th of a second for an image to hit you subconsciously, either negatively or positive. It doesn't matter. It's 1/80th of a second. So it's the only legal subliminal advertising thing that we can get, the visuals. So whether it be a good photo of a ram or a good photo of a wool versus a bad photo, it's hitting you back here before you know it. And so the power of visuals are really, really important. And of course, so we are going to navigate a minefield where AI could do some really damaging stuff as well. But again, going back to my original thing, if agriculture embraces the power of positive storytelling and taking a proactive stance on what we do, then we're going to be always in front of the 8 ball. And unfortunately, I can't talk about New Zealand, but in Australia, we are famous for watching a catastrophic event approach us, watching it and doing nothing. It's disgraceful. And, you know, we all know it, but some of the things that agriculturally have happened in Australia where we knew it was happening, knew it was coming for up to 6 months, and we've done nothing about it. As you know, in private wealth and private wealth companies, you wouldn't last a day in a company like that.
Yeah, no, proactive. The front foot has got to be the way forward. Possibly the toughest question for the interview is the one that slows people down a bit, and that's what's the last thing you changed your mind about?
Oh, Jesus, mate. I could go all woomy-toomy on you here.
Yeah, well, it's up to you.
I did think about this question this morning in bed as I had my coffee and, pondered the sunrise. And so I'll answer it the way I've decided to answer it. But I suppose I love what I do, and I'm highly motivated, and I'm driven, and been really lucky to. I've got an amazing company, and even the stable of our clients that we have, the collective of our clients, is probably second to none. Yeah. And organisations that I'm honoured to work with. So everything I've done has come off my drive and my passion. I love that, but so that means I'm highly motivated by my thoughts and my feelings. And now with various amounts of help, I'm learning to make decisions off my goals in life and my values in life, not just my thoughts and emotions. Now that might be way too much for a lot of people.
No, that's why we ask that question, really, is because it always gets a deeper level of answer than we would ever get otherwise.
Yeah, so I still want to be a high energy person and loving what I do and being really, really creative, but a lot of I want to be guided by my values and my goals in life, not just my thoughts and feelings. And for the people that sometimes have to live with me and my beautiful staff, it might make me more more zen and in touch with the day-to-days of life. Yeah. Is that bad?
I look forward to Ben version 2, mate. It's going to be.
Well, yeah. I mean, we still love Ben. We still love the Fergs. It's just I want to be able to contain the bad Benny, and all of that as well.
Excellent. No, I look forward to that, mate. Really appreciate your time today, Ben. You've taken me to your house. You've fed me a beautiful bit of eye fillet and some lovely Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts, yes.
Which was stunning little meal to get underway, and great to be here in this beautiful part of the world. And thanks for taking time out of your day to come along and tell your story. I'm sure listeners out there will love hearing that authentic story. And
it's been a great honour, mate, and thank you. I love working with you. I love the happy. My clients after working with you are happier clients with more purpose, and the results, you know, as I said, we're a results-driven company. The results I see, you know, from what your company does and the beautiful staff inside your company is second to none. And I mean, my takeaway from this is that every single thing I try and do in my life is a win-win. So from my work that we provide for our clients have got to win, their clients have got to win, and ultimately the end consumer's got to win. And I love that you and I are involved in the same thing, where everything we do has a purpose of everyone wins.
Yeah.
And that's good.
That is good. I come around to the thinking of an ecosystem lately, which is obviously what it is, and it's just a beautiful ecosystem to be involved in. So yeah, we love the crossover we get with OGA and you yourself, Ben. So yeah, no, awesome. Thanks for your time, and thanks for those kind words at the end.
Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers, mate.